My life was at a crossroads. In March 2015, I contracted flesh-eating bacteria after simply scratching my hand on my garage wall. After a 5-day coma and numerous surgeries, I was lying in my hospital bed with a mangled right arm and left leg, blood clots, a removed or rearranged body parts, and a missing nipple. As one might expect, I faced a dim prognosis for my future quality of life. Doctors stated that I should work towards feeding myself with my right arm, and my other physical aspirations should be set to that level of functionality. How could I face these challenges and move forward when the odds of returning to a normal life were so stacked against me? Most of us have dealt or are dealing or will deal with life-changing or challenging situations. We see others handle similar ordeals, and we assume that we can just keep on living and things will work themselves out eventually. But what if we take a more proactive approach to tackling those situations? According to the Anxiety and Depression Association of America, ADAA, 40 million Americans over the age of 18 are currently affected by anxiety. That's roughly 18% of the nation's population. According to the CDC, the Center of Disease Control and Prevention, approximately 4.4 million US school children aged 3 to 17 have diagnosed anxiety, have a diagnosed anxiety. While those numbers may not seem large when you consider that over 331 million people live in the United States, we will all face life-changing or challenging events at some point in our lives. And where our thoughts go, our minds and bodies will follow. Another slightly less dire situation I faced was when I started running again after my hospital discharge. I had purchased a pair of periwinkle blue ultra running shoes during my hospitalization as a motivator. I practiced walking up and down the hospital halls religiously, going from merely crossing the hallway to covering the half-mile round trip from one end of the hospital to the other and back. It was a big hospital. When I was discharged, I endured 3 weeks of home therapy, hungrily eyeing the road every day. I knew that by faithfully practicing my strengthening skills, I would reach the end of the 3 weeks strong and ready to restart my running workouts. However, when I completed that first mile, I didn't feel elated to run again initially, but achy, gasping for breath, and thoroughly frustrated at my lack of fitness. It was undoubtedly the worst mile I ever ran. In both cases, I needed to work through my situations. Healing my body was not the main issue because the healing doesn't start there. Remember, where your thoughts go, your mind and body will follow. I needed to start thinking the right thoughts before getting my mind to put my body to work. When I was in the hospital, I was told I was alive and that I should work towards feeding myself with my right arm. When I finished that mile, my mind was overloaded with thoughts of agony and frustration. When we encounter a life-changing event or challenging ordeal, we are bombarded by personal bacteria, those negative thoughts that make us question our futures and diminish our positivity. We can complete actions designed to heal and move forward, but if we don't believe that our efforts will prove fruitful, eventually we'll stop altogether and give in to those personal bacteria. So how do we deal with those personal bacteria so that we can make consistent and long-lasting progress from such situations. I remember when I was dumped by a girlfriend in college, I needed to move on, but all I could do was focus on the things she said that I did that made me a bad boyfriend and the mistakes I made. No matter what I did to keep functioning, completing school assignments, tasks at work, exercising, etc., those personal bacteria relentlessly attacked my mind, ultimately diminishing the quality of my efforts in every endeavor. By and large, we all do this. We all do this. By and large, we all do this, something life-changing or bad happens. Okay, I'll fix that. We try to move on, but we neglect to see past the personal bacteria, and they invade our minds. Something can just get on. Some people can just get on with their lives, and it seems like the event never happened. However, in both the hospital and running scenarios, I couldn't just move on. I needed to overcome those personal bacteria, those pervasive negative thoughts, before I could improve physically. Making lasting physical progress meant I needed to make a conscious decision to put in the work day in and day out. So many people struggle to move on from life-changing or challenging events because they just try to move on without dealing with this personal bacteria. You need to consciously think about acting on most endeavors before doing so. And if your thoughts are self-defeating and negative, ultimately those thoughts will derail many of, if not all, the physical actions you take because you don't believe it to be worth doing. So why keep doing it? To truly move forward from a life-changing or challenging or event, we need to properly deal with those personal bacteria and keep those negative thoughts from influencing our mindsets and actions. Simply physically moving forward from a life-changing or challenging event isn't enough for long-term progress. You must also deal with those personal bacteria. We often hear stories about people who just kept on going forward in life after a horrible accident or a bad breakup, as if nothing really happened. They almost seem superhuman. Those situations are outliers to how events actually play out. We humans are incredibly complex beings. And if our thoughts aren't aligned with our mindset or actions, we eventually stop making meaningful progress. For example, have you ever driven past an exit on the expressway or missed a turn because you were preoccupied with something? We all know that we should be grateful for the good things we have in our lives as a part of a social construct ingrained in us by our parents and elders. Gratitude, however, also delivers significant physical, social, and psychological benefits. The reason why we often can't just move on from life-changing or challenging events is because we are too focused on the negative of our situations. So if just moving on from such events doesn't work, what will? We can now find what made the difference in my hospital and running situations. During one of her first visits after I woke from my coma, my wife, Becky, told me of how various members in our different communities and social circles stepped up to help us. As she described the numerous acts of kindness that our family received, I started feeling more appreciative and grateful. My pain and injuries didn't subside, but those personal bacteria loosened their grip on my mindset, and my eyes opened to the possibilities of what I could do despite my current physical condition. That is how the attitude of gratitude, or TAG, was born. In my running situation, while I painfully walked back to my house, I started taking stock of how far I'd come since my hospitalization. I thought of my first walks in the hospital hallways, my transition from walker to cane to no support, and the very fact that I had just run a mile, a painfully slow mile, but a mile nonetheless. When I reached the house, I grabbed a glass of water and started plotting out a workout plan for the next few weeks. I also signed me and my older son up for a 5K that would occur a month later. 6 years after that first mile, I have run thousands more, amassed several first place finishes, set or tied 4 personal running records, participated in 4 Ragnar long distance running relay events, and am currently planning on qualifying for the Boston Marathon by 2030. What is it that helped me overcome those personal bacteria and develop a more positive mindset, and then decide to speak to all of you about it? Before Becky and I had our conversation, I was at a mental crossroads. I had to choose how I would live the rest of my life. As we talked, the information she relayed to me about our family, friends, and even strangers were how they were stepping up to help us in our time of need. While I walked home from my first mile, I was breathing hard with my hands behind my head. The pain expression on my face masked my true feelings, however. I missed the burning sensation in my lungs, my rapid heartbeat in my ears. I loved how my shoes felt how my feet felt in my new running shoes. I looked down and smiled when I saw my leg muscles bulging under my skin. In both situations, when I viewed my reality through a lens of gratitude and appreciation, my mindset changed from one of suffering and negativity to one of possibility and positivity. Focusing on the appreciable makes almost any challenging situation conquerable. For example, when we lose a loved one, by remembering the good memories and lessons they had left and taught us, we keep that loved one alive and take them wherever we go. If we lose a job, we can view that as an opportunity to pursue other positions. And if there were any toxic elements of that job, we can be thankful that we are now free from that toxicity. You could think of it as optimistic realism, or as I called it earlier, the attitude of gratitude. You cannot change the reality of the situation, but you can change how you react to it. By choosing to see the positive attributes, you are already making progress on your life's next chapter. Remember, where your thoughts go, your mind and body will follow. By thinking positive thoughts about the situation, your mindset automatically conjures positive ideas, and your body acts upon those ideas. We've actually seen this play out in history. About 100 years ago, an artist was fired from his position because he lacked creativity. He then took a beloved idea and sought financing for it. He and his idea were rejected 300 times. While it was not known exactly how he pitched his idea each time, it could be assumed that some of the pitches were better than others. He could have easily sought another animator job, which would have offered a stable income. However, he would still be beholden to someone else's ideas and not free to develop his own. He saw the possibility of his idea, appreciated the challenge in front of him, and used the time taken up by his former job to pursue his dream. Eventually, he succeeded in his quest in financing and was able to bring his creation to life. The creation, Mickey Mouse. The artist, Walt Disney. Disney focused on the positive aspects of the situation, kept true to his vision, and brought his vision to fruition. We can progress through virtually any challenging situation, if we focus on the positive things in our lives, we appreciate those in our lives and let them know why we appreciate them and give others reasons to be grateful and thankful. Think of a challenging situation that you're currently facing or might face in the future. As you think about the reality of that scenario and plan to move forward, answer these questions. What are some big and small things in your life that make you happy or make your life easier? How could you let others in your life you love and or appreciate know that you appreciate what they do for you? How can you give at least one other person a reason to be thankful? When we live our lives with optimistic realism or the attitude of gratitude, we can overcome our virtually any obstacle, achieve our goals, and make the world around us a better place.